Welcome to my webinar on making your life count, the power of legacy. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you tonight, and please feel free to ask questions at any point during this webinar. The questions are really helpful, and it helps me help you think about what legacy means to you. So first I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Liz Stern. I'm a global legacy leader, coach, and I've coached people the concept of legacy and why it's so important. For me, my legacy started when I was in college, actually probably before that, but in college, my best friend and roommate passed away from a brain tumor, and she really wanted to know that she had mattered, that she counted, and she wanted to create a legacy at 22, which was a very challenging concept at that time. You know, when you're 22, you don't really think generally about passing away. But we worked very hard at trying to find ways to help her understand what her opportunity set looked like. And what she decided, and it was very powerful for me to help her through this, was that she wanted to leave letters to her close friends and her family on her perspectives about life, the pursuit of happiness, education, a variety of things. And those letters were really powerful, and they're cherished by the people who receive them. And that's a really powerful statement when you think about how you're going to create your legacy. The second part of my developing my own legacy was having children. I have two amazing daughters who I love very deeply, and they really upended my ideas about what is a life well lived and how do you choose to live your life and how do you share your life. They didn't come with instruction manuals, they didn't come with a return policy, and so it was a challenge learning how to help them navigate their life. And the third part of my experience has been working with my clients, my coaching clients. As much as I have shared with them and taught them, they have taught me just as much, if not more. And that has actually added to the way that I share with my daughters and share with my friends and my family the lessons that they've learned and that I've learned in this process. It's a really powerful way to consider your life and what that looks like for you. In my own case as a child, I grew up in Spokane, Washington, one of 4 children in a family that was very challenged by raising children and parents that were actually quite strict. But what that did was all of their structure informed me as to how you can think about life. So when I got to the point in college of helping my friend in her journey, I already had sort of a almost institutional knowledge of what structure can help guide you when you're making challenging decisions. So as we're going through this, and helping you understand your opportunity set for how to make your life count and what legacy can contribute to that. It's really an important moment. So if you think, what does living your legacy or living do for you? You live in the moment, which is really powerful because you share with people and you share your life and your life lessons learned, and you pay attention, because we're never promised tomorrow, and that's a really critical element to consider, that we get through one pass in our life, and it's really important to share all the things that you've learned, that you've enjoyed. Just share your life. It's a really, really critical moment. And then as you're going through life, we all learn so much, whether it's from reading a book or life experiences, but it's important to continue to educate yourself. It's an opportunity that not everybody really gets, but if you think about your life, you can continue educating yourself throughout your life. And then it's also important to think about challenging yourself as you go through your life, to not just assume that whatever is the only way that you should be. I find that a really powerful opportunity to reimagine your life, to reimagine what you may not have done or what you could do. All of those things are challenges to us, and it's important to think those things through. So for a moment, I'd like to ask you to think back when you were a child and about what you wanted to be and what you remember that you wanted to be as a child. And write those things down and share them on Facebook. My trusty producer Brian is here with me, and he's helping me field questions, so please feel free to share your perspectives on what you wanted to be when you were a child and how important that was to you. Because when we're children, we're very creative. You know, it's whether we want to be a doctor, a fireman, a lawyer, or a gardener. It just doesn't matter. It's all the things that we thought we wanted to be and what that means to you. So write them down and share with us. The second thing I'd like you to think about is, let's go forward a little bit. Now you're in high school and you thought about things that you wanted to do in high school, after high school, in college, because again, now you've transitioned to another moment in your life and you have a new perspective. What does that look like to you? What does that mean to you? So write down 2 things that you remember that you wanted to be, that you wanted to do. Either of those things work, but just write them down because they'll help you later as you think about what you want to do going forward. Let's go forward again and take a moment and think about what you still have on your list, what you want to do now. It's, just take a moment and think about what your dreams are right now. Do you want to travel the world? Do you want to write a book? Make a movie? Whatever that might be, but think about what's on your list and what you're going to do, what you would like to do, and take a moment and imagine you're a child again and you can dream, you can think about anything you want. And that gives you a really powerful platform to imagine how you want your life and your legacy to be, what it is for you, and how you have the opportunity to share that with your family and friends. It's a fun process. It's sometimes a little challenging, but it'll get you started. And I'd also like to explain or share with you why it's so important to think about your legacy and why it's become so important for me to share the concepts of creating a legacy. It's really important to share your life and your life lessons learned in a structure that helps guide your life. So I'm offering a free consultation to anyone who signs up on my website, and I will help you start your legacy roadmap, which is a really powerful tool. We all can look at maps and you've got many roads going different directions, but if you always know what your end goal is, our legacy roadmap will help you get there. So think about, so come sign up, send me an email, we can have a conversation about your legacy. So what does it mean to make your life matter? That's a really challenging concept, because when you think about all the things that you could do in your life, the moments in your life that have been really powerful, you have to reflect on them. And that's probably one of the biggest things that challenges people when they start thinking about their legacy. And then they also get caught up with, our legacy and philanthropy the same thing? And what is legacy? What is philanthropy to you? What does that look like? So why don't you write that down and share that with us too? We would love to have those ideas and those concepts to share with the rest of the audience. And it would also be great if you wrote down what you think your legacy is at this moment. I think it's just a really powerful way to start imagining what kind of a life you lead, how you share it, how you interact with the people that you care about, that you work with, that you meet on any given day. We're never promised tomorrow, and it's really important to share what we know, and because you never know when what you share will change someone else's life and give them an opportunity to imagine an even better life. So on that note about what is the difference between legacy and philanthropy, philanthropy is really about giving of yourself. It's not necessarily money, it can be, but it's more about sharing your values, thinking about, whether it's working at a soup kitchen, or it's sharing your wealth, or sharing the wealth of information that you have from what you've learned in your life that will change your perspective. So I'd like to share with you a story about my daughters, who, when they were much younger, were in love with or fascinated with animals of all sorts. So they went to zoos, we would watch animal movies, and the biggest thing for them was that they really wanted to be able to support and help endangered animals. So every year, they would pick out a couple of animals and send, $5 or $10. And the minute that they got the return receipt, which was usually a picture of a wild animal, they were so excited, and they would put it up on their walls, and that really showed them that you can make a difference, that you are important to the calculus of what philanthropy might look like. And it's a powerful story that they can tell. And now one of my daughters is a guide for blind runner. So they learn the lesson of sharing what you have, of giving of yourself, and how powerful that can be in creating a philanthropic portfolio, if you will. But it also adds to their legacy, and it's a really special opportunity that we all have. It doesn't matter whether it's helping somebody cross the street or whatever it might be, but it's a really powerful opportunity. So, excuse me. It's important to remember, or I like to reflect on a quote by Aristotle. We live in deeds, not years, in thoughts, not breaths, in feelings, not figures. And we should count time by heartthrobs. That's a really powerful statement to me, in that we are what we share, what we contribute, and how we touch other people's hearts and lives. So as you think about what I've asked you to do in terms of writing down, your things that you wanted to be when you were a child, things you wanted to do or be when you were in high school or college, and things that you still have on your list. It could be even your bucket list. You have to think about your aspirations and your values as part of that, and ask yourself, for you, what does a good life look like? What are the elements of it that are important for you to share, and what does that mean to you? It's when you think about, we all have one life, we have a limited amount of time, and time is our most valuable asset. We never get back the minutes that we've spent in a day. We know what we've done with that day, but we don't get that time back if it's something that we haven't done with passion or with purpose, or because we had any desire to do it. So sharing your life is also about sharing your time, sharing of yourself, of your family, of your ideas, of your knowledge. And it doesn't matter who you are, what you own, where you live. It's just all about how you share your life. We've become, in our society, so disconnected. People don't say generally hello on the street anymore. And yet when you do, people really take notice. They sense that energy. So that's something I actually do every day. I always say hello to people and compliment them or compliment the day. And it's a really powerful way to share positive energy with people. And time also, influences how we act and behave. And that's not just individually, but collectively. We get caught up in time, we start rushing, and we lose sight of that moment, that we could miss, when something beautiful we might experience or see, and we've lost that moment. It's history, and it's a really powerful idea to keep at the front of your mind, that time is an integral part of how we act, how we share our lives, and how we positively contribute, at least hopefully most of the time. And so those are important. Another important aspect of what your legacy might look like and how you can make your life count. So I have 3 guiding concepts that have been very helpful to me, and I'm sure probably helpful to you as well. The first one is to get out of your comfort zone. I find that when you get set in your daily routine, it's very challenging. Life always throws us, we have a schedule that we have to meet, we have deadlines that we have to meet. But so for me, when I'm out of my comfort zone, I'm usually traveling, and I'm always getting lost or, asking for guidance from someone. But getting out of that comfort zone also allows me to slow down, take a moment, reflect, and think about where I am in my life at a moment in time, and what I want to add to my life. And along the way, the people that I meet help influence my perspective and give me an opportunity to listen to them, to hear them, to see what they've experienced, and to hear their stories as much as I hear my own. The second one is to face your fears and challenges. We have fears and challenges in our lives every single day. It's, the minute you decide to do something, travel to a crazy country, or get on a subway that you've never been on in New York City or some other city, or jump in a pool if you're not a very good swimmer, or maybe even if you are just in a pool that you're not familiar with, or a body of water. It could be anything. And when you face your fears and you say, I can do this, or challenges, all of a sudden those fears go away. When you face them, are those real fears, or are they fears that you've manufactured because you have all the skills that would help you get through that challenge? And it's important to really allow yourself to think about the fears that you are facing, or that you think that you're facing, and decide if they're really real, or maybe there's a way that they can contribute to how you're living your life. And that's, again, another element to add to how you decide to develop and create your legacy and making your life count. The third concept is sharing your life and life lessons learned. And for me, that's the most critical one, because everyone learns from stories and from life lessons. There have been times when I've had the opportunity to be in places where communities had so many challenges and so many difficulties that they had no historical or institutional history left, for example, even to garden, what that looked like, what that meant. And so once they were helped by organizations to learn how to grow food, they had to learn how to eat it. They had to learn how to cook it. And that meant sharing lessons about tastes and ideas that were foreign to the communities. But as they learned and they tried different things, it wasn't so challenging anymore. But those life lessons were really important to share with them. And it's exciting to see people learn from your stories, from your lessons, and be able to make their lives even better. It's a really powerful opportunity. As part of, and I know it's kind of challenging to go from guiding concepts to values, but your values are part and influence those guiding concepts. And they also are really important to understanding what your legacy might look like. So what are values to you? I'd love you to share what values are important to you and what you think about them. I'll share a few, but I'd really enjoy and appreciate hearing from you, and also any stories that you have that would relate to any of the things that I've mentioned thus far. So the first value that I find to be really important is compassion. When you are compassionate with someone, you share you can appreciate their perspective, what they've experienced, and you have empathy for them in that moment. And compassion goes a long way for people to think about what their opportunities might look like, and to feel safe. The second one is gratitude. Gratitude, being grateful for for being here, for life, whatever life you have, whatever that looks like. Be grateful that you get to have that. Because again, no one's promised tomorrow. You get one chance to go around the block. Make the most of it and be grateful for what you have in your life. The third belief is integrity. It's so important to share your life and to imagine what you can create. And integrity is about being connected with your actions and your words. Do they reflect each other? It's important to think about what our parents taught us about integrity, about a caring life, not to lie. Honesty is a really critical part of integrity. So think about the beliefs that underlie your life, and listening. When you listen to someone and they know that you are actually hearing them and you're seeing them and you're understanding what they are saying to you, even if it may not be something you want to hear, that's a really powerful emotion and belief for somebody to experience from you, because everybody wants to know they've been seen and they've been heard. And it's challenging with the pace of our lives to always do that, but really take the opportunity to listen to someone, because again, you're probably going to learn a lot from them, and it'll be a really valuable opportunity set. The last one is love. Sharing love in your life with your family, your friends, the broader world, it's contagious. People can feel that you care for them, that they mean something to you, and it's really important to take that opportunity and share your love. And so I have a question for you. What do you think beliefs do for you? How do they impact your life? I think it goes back to sharing your life lessons and fulfillment, and what fulfillment might mean for you. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And again, I'd love to have the opportunity to work with you on a one-on-one consultation, where you'll start to learn about what your legacy roadmap might look like. So I'm gonna come back to what legacy really means, and what's so important about it. I'm just going to take a second to check in with Brian, and it looks like everything's good. So what is legacy to you? What does it mean to you? What's important about legacy for you? And with all the things that I've mentioned, I would imagine that things are starting to pop up for people. And I'd like to, I get asked what keeps people from sharing their legacies and telling their stories. And there's one overriding factor that keeps people from doing a lot of things, but that is fear. And fear is really an important, a really powerful limiting perspective. And which is why when I mentioned fear before, I think it's so critical that people think about the fears that they have. Are they going to be misunderstood? Are they going to be embarrassed? All those fears, while they exist, they aren't real, because only you give someone else the power to make you feel bad or feel uncomfortable in any way. And so you have an opportunity to dispel those fears. So what can you do today to start developing your legacy roadmap? The first thing is to consider your life thus far. That's a really powerful and important opportunity. What have you done that you love, that gave you passion and joy, and how would you like to share that with someone? So when you write those things down and you think about them, you give yourself the opportunity to change them, to make sure that those are really the things that you want to focus on. That's a really powerful opportunity. And the second one is to reflect. Reflect on all those things that made you happy, that were a part of your life, the trajectory of your life thus far. It's really powerful to think about what's important to you and why it's important to you. So take a moment and reflect on your life. And the third thing is to take all those things as you're learning about yourself and start to develop a roadmap that will guide you through your life. It's a huge opportunity, and it will allow you to think about living your legacy today. So think about what that means to you, and what that opportunity is for you. Developing your legacy roadmap is a really powerful opportunity, because it doesn't just guide you for your legacy, it guides you for your life, because you have the opportunity to imagine things you may not have thought of before, and you can share your life in different ways, and you can contribute to others' lives, because again, you never know when something you share with someone else will give them the opportunity to pivot and imagine something other than what they're experiencing. That's a really powerful gift that you're sharing with people. So think about how you'd want to start your legacy roadmap. And when you think about, again, your legacy, how have you contributed to someone's life recently? I'd love to hear what that looks like for you, what you've done, and please feel free to share on Facebook. I'd love to see what your ideas about how you made a difference in someone's life, and what the action was that resulted from that. So I had a client who had no extended family, didn't have a partner, and was trying to develop his legacy. And at first he thought it was going to be about sharing his accumulated wealth with different organizations. He had created his own business, and he had worked very methodically to grow it and make it into quite a powerful company. And now in his later years, he wanted to give back. And as we were going through this process, and we started talking about sharing your lessons learned and what that really means, and how you can impact someone's life and really change their lives, he started to reflect and think, my legacy is not just what the financial part. The more important part is I want to share what I've learned, what I know, because I have no one to leave it to. I'd like to share it with people so maybe they could create their own businesses. So that ended up being more of his legacy, and it was very, very exciting for him to have that opportunity to share his lessons learned and to mentor people. It was an amazing experience, and I was thoroughly thankful for being able to help guide him in his process. So another aspect of developing your legacy or thinking about it is to consider the myths of legacy. And the myths of legacy are almost as powerful as some of the other aspects of building your legacy, because it can really keep people from understanding that everybody has a legacy. It doesn't matter if you're a CEO of a company or you're you're a house cleaner or you're a homemaker. Every single person has a legacy, and you live it and you leave it every single day. So the myths of legacy, and you can please feel free to tell me whether you think they're right or wrong, but it's something that you develop at the end of your life. If you develop your legacy at the end of your life, it's too late, because you've already lived it, you've left it, you've shared whatever aspect of your life you're going to share. So you've kind of squandered that opportunity to share all that you learned in your life, whether it's good or bad. All those lessons are really important. It's an exciting opportunity to think about living your legacy instead of waiting for the end of your life. The second myth of legacy is it's all about the money. Legacy is not about money. It's about sharing your life, and it's about sharing your life lessons, giving somebody another opportunity to view life through a different lens. Everyone has a different perspective, and you have one that can resonate with people and teach any number of lessons. So it's really important to realize that it's not about the money. It's about sharing who you are, and we all have something to share. We all have a gift to give and a contribution to make. The third myth of legacy is it's all about family traditions. That my family does this, and they've done it for generations, and this is what it's all about. You can keep it that way, but you can add on to it, because it's not just about traditions. It's about who you are. You could be how you fit into those traditions or whether they fit into you, but it's not about your family traditions. It's about who you are, your life lessons, what you have to share with the world, and why that's so important. We've become so disconnected from each other. It's another way to reconnect when you think about what your legacy is, and that it's not just about the set traditions that your family had lived by. The fourth legacy myth is that you don't have an estate, and you're not going to be able to leave a gift, so you don't have a legacy. That is absolutely not part of legacy. You can leave a gift, but again, it's not about your estate, because we are all a lot more than a garage full of stuff. At least I think we all are. It's not the boxes of things, the memories that you have. Those things can help you, or it's not boxes of things. It's about who you are and what you want to offer and contribute to the world at large. We all need to share each other's stories and to connect with each other. It's a huge opportunity, and it's really powerful. So I really encourage you to share, to continue to examine your life, and realize that an estate is not going to make or break your legacy. The fifth myth of legacy, that if you don't have children or you're single, it doesn't matter. I don't imagine I've never imagined that any person who didn't have children, didn't have a partner, didn't have a legacy, because they still have lessons, they still live their life, they can still share all the things that they've experienced in their lives. And it's so important to realize that, again, children don't make a legacy. Being single or being married doesn't make a legacy. It's not about that. It's about how you share your life and your life lessons learned. So think about what it would be for you to create a legacy that mattered to you, that you would share with your family and friends. It's such an opportunity for us all to do, and I really encourage you to talk to your friends. Think about what's important to them. Ask them, what would you think about what your legacy might be? it's a beautiful way to think about where your life is and where you want your life to go. So I'd like to share a story about King Alexander. Sorry about a Macedonian king. Lived around 326 AD, I believe. But he was a great warrior king, and he had conquered many lands. He'd acquired a lot of wealth, and on his last campaign, he got sick, and he realized that he was dying, and that he wasn't going to make it back to his homeland. He wasn't going to be able to see his mother again. He didn't have a family, but he would have appreciated having the opportunity to say goodbye to her, and that was not going to happen. And so he was planning for the end of his life, and he asked his generals for 3 wishes. The first, that only his physicians carry his coffin. The second, that on the pathway to the graveyard, that it be strewn with gems and gold from his treasury, from all the places that he had recently conquered. And the third was that his hands be left outside of the coffin, just outside. And those generals, as you can imagine, were really perplexed about why this incredible, powerful, wealthy king would want these 3 things as his final wishes. But they really are powerful when you think that he had a reason for all these things. You know, remember, as I said, he'd like to have seen his mother for a last time, but more importantly, he realized that he had taken life for granted. And that's a really powerful, that's New York City. You get to hear sirens and honking. So if you hear that, you know where I am. Anyway, so back to King Alexander, he realized that he had taken life for granted. And that's what happens to a lot of us. We get caught up in our daily lives. We forget about where we are in life or what we want to accomplish, those things that we wanted to do when we were kids or young adults, what's on our bucket list. We forget about those things and we take life for granted. So that was the first lesson. The second lesson was that he had accumulated all this wealth for the sake of accumulating wealth, not for doing anything with it, not for sharing it with anyone, for the sole sake of accumulating wealth. And all of a sudden, what was he going to do with it? He couldn't take it with him. He had wasted time. He had wasted his opportunity by just accumulating wealth, by just conquering other lands, countries, and taking their wealth. And it ultimately did nothing for him. So that was another really powerful lesson that it resonates with people even today. And the third one is that he had his hands outside of his coffin because he wanted people to know that he entered the world with nothing. And he was going to be leaving it with nothing. We can't take wealth with us. We leave it behind. So while you want to have a life and be comfortable, but chasing wealth just for the sake of wealth, not for I'm just going to take a quick look to Brian.
It's just your age.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay. We had a little glitch there, but everything's back on track. And I'm good. Okay. So the third, so again, it's that you enter the world with nothing and you exit with nothing. So whatever wealth you have, share it Share your stories, share your life, and don't squander the time that you have. Don't take it for granted. It's a huge and beautiful opportunity. So I'd like to share with you how I got to this point of wanting to share the concepts around legacy and why it was so important for me to do this. So first, when I think back to where I grew up, how I grew up, it was a challenging opportunity to learn how to see the world. And as I went through my life and my challenges, my girlfriend passing away in college, raising my children, it became an opportunity I started to realize more and more as I worked with clients that sharing just the nuts and bolts of how you develop a legacy and how you develop a philanthropic portfolio, which is what I have been doing for quite a long time, it was not enough because people kept asking for more information and to try to figure out how they fit in. And that really led me to the idea that it's so important to share your life lessons and your legacy, because you never know when you're going to change someone else's life, and you can help them pivot and find a new way to live their life. They could be in a really challenging situation, and you can change that. It's your stories that will change their opportunities. And so think about that. All the work that I've done, all the traveling that I've done, all the lessons that I've learned from people, and working with clients that have resulted in them giving over $95 million in charitable contributions to organizations. It's a really powerful opportunity, and you have that opportunity as well. So I'd like to again encourage you to sign up on my website and ask for a consultation. I'd love to share with you and get you started on building your roadmap. And it's a really important reminder of why legacy is so important. I feel very strongly that the people around me that know me, that I've shared with, have started to, without me coaching them, have started to realize that they're doing things now that help them build their legacies, improve their lives, and they share that with a broader community, and it has a ripple effect. So I exhort you, I encourage you, sign up, talk to me, share with me, talk to your friends, think about what the opportunities are in creating your legacy and why it's so important, because it's a really fun process once you get started, and you can share so much with people, and you can learn lots of interesting lessons along the way. And I'd like to share with you a quote from Margaret Weiss Brown from Goodnight Moon, which is, everything that anyone would ever look for is usually where they find it. We always have the solutions within us to any of the perplexing questions that we have about our lives, if we stop and take a moment and reflect on what those solutions might be, what those ideas might be. But it means you have to think about what in your life allows you to be calm and reflective and to share what your opportunities are. So please go to my website, lizstern.com, and sign up, connect through Facebook. I'd love to hear from you, and I hope you've enjoyed this conversation, and I look forward to hearing from you and sharing with you again. Thank you so much. Good night.